Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to Love and Life Elevated. I am Dr. Deborah Rouse.
And I am Dr. James, and it is so great to be here with you today. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And today, James and I were on our walk, and I love that is our time when we think, oh, what do we want to talk about today? And so this topic is really fun. It's about when you take the word no and you turn it into grow. When no becomes grow. Do you get it? Do you feel what I'm saying? So the reason I thought of this is several reasons. Last week we talked about self-determination theory. Way back when we first started doing this together, we were talking about setting healthy boundaries. And that is when our personal no is a complete sentence and feeling really great and awesome about saying no and not having to explain yourself. But what if I'm the recipient of the no? What if that door slams in my face? Like, how do I know, K-N-O-W, when the N-O is not a stop sign, but it's actually a time to go deeper and know when, if it's truly my calling, the no is an invitation to grow.
I love this topic for so many reasons, and I think this is personal for every one of us. There's probably no question that all of us have had a time in our life where we either look back at a time in our evolution where someone said something and it was like, no, you're not worthy of this, or no, you're not ready for this, or you can't do this. And you just went deep inside of yourself and said, that's not going to be defining me. That is not going to be someone telling me what I am here to do with my life. And I think right now, for a lot of people, what's really up for them right now is the world feels like it's giving us a ton of no's. Like, there are so many things happening in the world that feel like it's no. You can't feel hopeful. You can't feel loving. You can't feel light. You can't feel that you can continually bring something good in the world because the world is so hard right now. So this is a very deep time for all of us to kind of give ourselves essentially an invitation to reacquaint ourselves with all the no's that we may have had and know that's happening right now. And what do we do to give ourselves permission to overcome a no that we know is not deeply connected to our deeper knowing? K-N-O-W-I-N-G. I love how you made that distinction.
So when you were talking about that, and you went really deep really fast, and so my brain was like, oh, do I even bring it up? But if you're a parent, you're going to get this. And guess what? We've all been children. Now, remember when your parents say no. No, you can't do that. No, you can't stay up past 10. But you find the way, like, you negotiate. Well, maybe I'm going to do extra chores if I can just, stay up and watch this for another half hour. Or if you're a pet owner and you tell your dog no, and then they're so cute. They look at you like, really, Mom? Really, Dad? You're like, okay, you can come on the couch, right? So we know there's wiggle room around no. But to your point, when it's more serious, maybe it's a job you're perfect for. You know you're the right person for the job. You get that third interview, maybe the fourth. Now you're meeting with the CEO, and you come in second place, But that was for you. Like, how do you pivot? And how do you, K-N-O-W, how do you know that only means, I love the expression, this or something better, that something better is coming along? And how do we, go into the spiritual practice of accepting that, knowing that truth is there for us, and that, it may be one door closing, a window opening, or another door opening.
Beautiful. And what a great way to lay down our initial foundation around some of the things that we do know about overcoming challenges, or when someone says, this is not for you, or the world's telling you presently right now, you don't have what it takes and you've got to figure out a different thing to do because what you know in your heart you're here to do is being denied. So I'd love to start with just embracing the science around willpower.
Ooh, that's good.
Because willpower has been shown to actually outpredict success based on IQ by a factor of 2, meaning you're going to have a much greater chance of being successful, whatever you endeavor to do, if you have your willpower continually fortified versus what it is that your IQ or your grades or your CV may tell you. Because what's really important is that what we understand about willpower, it's both physiological and emotional. And I like to say there's a spiritual component to it as well.
And along with willpower, I feel like that blends perfectly with self-determination. And those with higher willpower, higher self-determination have lower levels of anxiety, depression, and that tendency to kind of fall into the slump.
Yeah,
So we talked about self-determination, I know, enough last week. So if you missed that, you can go back and watch that. But really greater purpose too, right? More willpower, greater purpose, a deeper level of self-confidence. But if you have more to say, let's hear it. But then I want to use you as an example.
Let's hear it.
Let's hear it.
You got something else to say?
Give it to us.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing on willpower, and I'll make it brief because
No, don't.
Like
Just keep going.
So the science of willpower is 3 things that we can do every single day. And here's what's great about willpower. You may have a thing that you have in mind. Well, I need willpower because I'm going to do this job, or I'm going to create this business, or this relationship. Whatever it is that you are intending for yourself, willpower is connected to 3 things. Number 1, prayer or meditation, either one. On top of that, balancing your blood sugar. Very interesting relationship to how glucose continually moving into your brain fortifies your ability to continually have the willingness in your mind to continually move forward in your life. So glucose is incredibly important. And the third thing, movement. When you exercise, you're building dopamine, serotonin, you're managing your cortisol. So all the, how should we say, the natural pharmaceuticals that give you a sense of positivity and hope and insight, all part of your gritty determination. This is all happening. And what's great, you may have a thing in mind, but if you are doing your prayer meditation, you're doing your movement, and you're balancing your blood sugar, getting your glucose into your brain as a steady flow of fuel, you will also find, if that's not the thing that you thought it once was, no matter what it is that you determined for yourself, you're going to have the fuel, the fortitude, the grittiness, physiologically, emotionally, and spiritually, to get what you came here to have. So really understand that the rituals around willpower, that we would kind of say, well, yeah, ritual of exercise, ritual of just healthy eating, and always do my meditation. That's what we consider with rituals, but the wonderful side effect, they are the foundation for willpower. So there's so much about our morning magic that we have a lot to say about.
That's awesome, because I think the tendency is when we get that no, is to sort of wilt and to shut down and go quiet and go within. But the key, I know that if my blood sugar is in balance, I am not a rational thinker. I can't make great decisions, and my confidence just bottoms out. So leading with that balanced blood sugar is so key. And so we know like healthy lean protein, some dark green leafies, some complex carbs, quinoa, brown rice, that type of thing. That's awesome. And I love the part about movement, because anytime we're thinking about even what we want to talk about with you all, it comes at the end of the walk. We've already done our workout. So we do a workout, we take the dogs for a walk, and that's when the creative energy and juices are flowing and the confidence is building. So I think that's so key. That's the way to like get back to like, that might be their no, but here's my yes. Here's what I know about my truth, my purpose, and my intention. And then just like pivot, and then you're on your way.
So key. And just as a quick little sidebar, why is meditation and prayer so important to this? It is really about the fact that what happens under the influence of both of those things, it really catalyzes 2 important pieces of our brain. Number 1, it quiets the amygdala. Amygdala is where fear and, how should we say, self-protection that may be overzealous, not expanding and not wanting to be rejected and protecting ourselves and wanting to be safe. If the amygdala is overactive because we are not taking good care of our willpower, we're going to talk ourselves out of a lot of things we want to do in our life. And we're also going to create an unreasonable level of fear and trepidation that'll keep us from moving forward in our life. So that's one thing that's happening with prayer and meditation. The other thing is that we are literally fortifying our prefrontal cortex, which is where our best decisions are made. So that sense of clarity, that sense of understanding, and that willingness happiness is all happening up here. So we have more decisive ways in which we move through our life. And we're very clear about the decisions that really, really matter. And we have energy for them, not so just making a decision, but then following through on the decision and doing the things that need to be done. So those three, the trifecta of willpower, my goodness, if that's all you walk away with today and that's all you implement tomorrow, your life will transform.
I agree. And we are talking about this as if it's easy. And none of these rituals, habits may be a part of your everyday life. But you did a really cool blog yesterday, back to that idea of doing hard things first. So I feel like if these are hard things for you, meditation, movement, and healthy eating and, balancing your blood sugar, that's how you need to start your day. Do the hard things first so that with momentum, you roll into your day and like any no that comes your way, you're like, I got this. I can handle this.
That is such an important part of foundation to this idea of overcoming our no, and also looking at how it is that is also a possibility for a pivot when something happens. So let's take a look at something in our life that we know intimately.
You mean being told no?
Yes, being told no. You and I mean...
Like a lot?
Sweetheart, if there's anything I love about us, we've been together for over 32 years, and we have gone through a ton of hard things. All of us have, right? I'm not saying that we win the prize for hard things, but we have had a lot of no's. We've had a lot of the doors slammed in our faces. And we have been told since the very beginning, when we got married, we had a lot of people in our life, and I'm not going to mention names, who told us, you guys don't stand a chance.
Like some family members maybe who only came out for 24 hours, and we didn't understand why. Why are you here for such a short time? And it was because you'll never make it. So why am I wasting my time?
But those people also came around later.
Yes. Oh, and big time.
Instrumental in helping us work through hard times to help us to continue to stay together. So, this is the beautiful thing about family and people who care about us, and also people who, have thoughts about things like that. It's just like, my goodness. So,
well, also on that note is that sometimes when you're getting a no from something that you really feel is a yes, it could be because it's coming from a place of fear or from the other person's experience. And so understanding that and knowing maybe there's a workaround or there's further dialogue to go around that. But taking it one step further, if I can, you have a couple examples definitely that stand out for me. Well, three that I can think of. One that you've shared in your book and you've shared maybe in some of your talks, and that goes way back to like your high school guidance counselor. When you're all excited, and we've talked about it here too. You're like, okay, well, what college should I apply to? And they're like, hard no, not college material. So how did you pivot from that?
I think that, number one, it wasn't right away. I basically took that as a primal no and owned the no and utilized my dyslexia as, you already have challenges academically with this learning challenge or learning option. And I marinated for a couple of years before.
Did you marinate in the no?
I marinated in the no. And then I gave myself an opportunity to get over myself and give myself a permission to challenge the no. And it started off in a very incremental way. Like, how do I begin with simply as going into a community college experience when someone was told that 4-year experience wasn't for me, but that served to get me going. And yes, 12 years later, got me through medical school. And I think the thing that I learned is that sometimes the no that you're overcoming doesn't mean it's like this giant yes. It may mean that I'm going to do a micro yes. And this micro yes is just the first step moving towards something that is resembling of the thing that you're ultimately wanting to have. And I think sometimes these incremental experiences that we give ourselves can be really broken down simply in teaching every day. Like if you have a long-term goal or a vision for yourself or a no's happened, and that no, you kind of know that it's not right. That no isn't really landing. You say, well, what can I do to move towards a yes? How do I start validating the way that I believe this is still for me? And I think in relationships with ourselves, if we've had a series of no's, if we have a childhood that you've had some different trauma experiences, that no's were a lot of different places, no about safety, no about hope, no about predictability. Those are big no's for a lot of us. And how those no's need to be overcome is that you literally start to build your environment very systematically, very mindfully, that you get a chance to have a lot of yeses in your life. You get a chance to decorate with the type of people who are bridging back to you and reflecting back to you your worthiness, your love, the way in which you are somebody who has the choices that you'd love to make, and they reflect it back to you just by the way that you've surrounded yourself with people who love you and believe in you.
Yeah, so in that moment, did you feel that like you accepted the no, or just you let it marinate? Like you knew the yes was there all along, you had a deeper purpose, and that maybe you didn't have the tools at the time. Like maybe you didn't know about willpower, you didn't know about self-determination theory. You just know that, well, I'm kind of used to being told I'm not good enough, so that's probably it. Even though like something's telling me I'm meant for something more. Do you think you had that inner knowing, or that later down the line something happened that woke you up?
Well, I think it's really interesting because I think I let that no really get dark. I think that was the beginning of a deeper period of alcohol for me. Right after high school, when I didn't go to college because I didn't have the tools or the acumen, that I drank a ton after that. And I drank so much that I think what I did is I created a lot more pain. There was the initial no pain, and then there was a deeper pain of self-inflicted addiction pain. And then ultimately I became, it drove me to a decision. Is this me moving forward in my life? A person who's going to let that one no become deeper no's and deeper darkness? Or did it drive me to finally decide this was not going to be my no, and it was not going to define me? And interesting enough, out of nowhere, I decided I was going to be a triathlete. And I remember getting on a bicycle with no business. Getting on a bicycle, hungover, hot July day, and just literally sweating. Gosh, this is hard to even talk about, but getting on that bicycle and headache and just a horrible night before and dumb drinking and just riding. And almost sudden have this glimpse like, well, you feel a little bit better. Why don't you keep going? I had no business riding anywhere that morning in the condition I was in, but eventually that parlayed into me becoming an Ironman. And it wasn't like the next day, all of a sudden I was a triathlete. It was a few years later, but consistently starting to use movement as a building of willpower that eventually said, you are done drinking. You are no longer going to be an addict. You are no longer going to be allowing that no to define you anymore. And movement was the beginning. And that movement turned into, I started meditating and I started to eat cleaner. And all of a sudden I saw willpower come out of nowhere. And then 30 years later, I'm writing books about it and going, no, this is real. Here's the science, but here's my personal story. This got me out of hell. This literally got me out of hell. And I love the way in which that just sort of came this morning for us to talk about today with everyone. Find your thing, because that one thing can lead to all the things that you're hoping to curate and then bring into your life.
Yeah, that's a very vulnerable share. So thank you for that. And I'm sure that there's people who can relate to that experience. I know there's other pretty popular podcasters out there that they've become ultra endurance athletes, and they work it out on the trail, and like you can sweat it out, like you were saying, like you're there on the bike and you're just sweating.
Yeah, I mean, the metaphor so many times of wanting to get off the bike because of the pain, and actually just keeping my pedals moving forward and getting off the bike. And when self-talk about no's and doubts, what do you do to have your micro yeses so you keep your pedals moving forward? This is life for a lot of us. And eventually the cadence of yeses starts to really kind of weave itself into who you are, and they start to outnumber the no's.
Yeah.
And the voice of yes and of love and compassion starts to outshout eventually, and then start to speak beautifully. And that, I think, is the work at hand.
Yeah, and it makes me think about grit, and how grit is a spiritual practice. And maybe you could really briefly share that experience with, well, there's a couple local experiences with the media that you've had. One having to do with Optimum Wellness. And when you had this core belief, following the Columbine tragedy, that you wanted to bring this like positive message to our community here. And that, touched us pretty hard, and we're pretty close to that. And so tell me about that experience of how Optimum Wellness came to be.
Yeah. So, with that, and Deb and I, after the Columbine tragedy, the world was rocked, and we as well. And the next day, because I've just felt the way I did, having kids, having this desire to want to do something in response to that tragedy, I thought, let's put something positive on TV.
Yeah.
So I just literally called up a local affiliate, broadcast affiliate, the major station here in Colorado, and said, hey, I got an idea. I think we should do this. I think we should put a positive message on TV to help people to feel more hopeful and overcome this tragedy.
Click.
And then it was leaving voicemails, and it was no exaggeration, over a course of another year plus, I made over 60 phone calls. I just didn't give up. Mm-hmm. And it was it was maddening, I think, for the folks who eventually became dear, like family of choice type friends. And here 26 years later, we're still going on television. But it was because I just knew in my heart, I wanted to do something. I needed to do something. And it wasn't about me. It was about the fact I wanted to put something on television that was particularly just placed when people were in the middle of the news, when you just are hearing a lot of hard stuff and there's hard stuff happening. Just put some light in there, just a bit of love in there. And I think it was my delusional optimism that kept me going initially. And then it became this thing that I couldn't stop until I either got the no that was going to finally get me to stop, but I never felt like that was ever going to happen. I think I had to persist. And if I persisted, a yes would eventually come. It did come, and thank you to the team there for continuing to believe in this. And I think it parlayed into another thing that we did during the pandemic, a really, really, really hard time.
The thing that led to this? Do y'all know what this is?
You can put that back.
This is really cool. This is an Emmy award right here.
Well, here's the sweetie, you're killing me right now. You're going, well.
It's excellent that it happened to be sitting.
Well, I put it over there just outside of the camera, but I can see it from my desk.
Yes, I love that.
I'm going to go ahead and be very vulnerable. I look at that a lot from my desk when I'm losing hope, or I'm starting to feel, when I'm starting to feel a little fragile in my belief. During the pandemic, which was hard for all of us, I decided again to try to get a television station to do something. And I presented this really ridiculous, beautiful idea called the Human Grace Project, which was, oh my gosh, putting something really deeply spiritual and something deeply optimistic right smack dab in the news as a real news segment. And I bless the team that helped to bring this to fruition. But yeah, it resulted in a really cool award. But gosh, I got to tell you, man, that was hard. Because that was a very cynical, pessimistic time for this country and the world. But let me go ahead and just present this in a way as we kind of wrap things up about willpower and fortitude and grit and overcoming no's. I know that you have a no somewhere in your life. I know you do. We all do. Amazing people always have no's because we're always pushing our edges. We're always pushing up against our comfort. These stories I'm sharing, and I know you have a million more.
Right. We'd love to hear them too if you want to share.
Section.
Yeah.
We're a world that needs yeses right now. And maybe the world, the institutions of the world, the politicians, they're not giving us yeses, are they? They're just not. We got to give ourselves the yeses. So we got to share stories. We got to build each other up. We got to throw hope around like it's an absolute, because it really matters right now. Please understand that we get it. We do this because we want to get yeses from you, and we want to give yeses to you. This is a time where pivoting is critical. If we're going to continue on this path and let a lot of institutions and people tell us what we can do and what we can't do, we're screwed. So we got to literally decide what we believe we're here to do and do the work necessary to get our yes, incremental, deep yeses that bring this experience of our lives to start to be a reflected ripple to all the lives around us. We are all permission givers. We are all healers. We are all instigators and catalysts. This is what we're all here to do. I got in a soapbox, man. I'm sorry about that.
No, absolutely beautiful. And I'm just thinking of taking that no and thinking about it as a sacred course correction, and thinking of a pivot as a sacred course correction, and taking that then into the practices that you talked about with willpower, starting with meditation or spiritual practice and prayer and balanced blood sugar and movement. And I did make a couple notes on 5 ways to know that it's time to not take no for an answer.
Beautiful.
So
drum roll.
Number
5.
The no feels like a test, not a stop sign. Right? So maybe it's a yield. Right? So think about that. You wake up and you're still thinking about it. Do you ever, okay, I'm going to just talk to the women out there right now. You're going shopping. There's a really cute dress and it's kind of borderline above what you wanted to spend. So you don't buy it right then. You're like, I'm going to sleep on it. And if I'm still thinking about it when I wake up, then maybe it's a yes. And so maybe that is like a no for you, but you're still thinking about it and you're going to get creative and think, wait a second, I'm going to see where my yes fits into this, how I'm going to just yield into the situation and course correct and not take no for an answer. Again, you're willing to do the hard work. I think that's when it's really clear that you don't need to listen to the no. You don't feel desperate about hearing the no. You feel really grounded and ready to move forward and course correct. And this is what I think is the most important thing, is that you can imagine someone else's life changing because you didn't quit. And that's exactly what you were just talking about with Human Grace Project, with Optimum Wellness. Like, if one person needs to hear your message, needs to receive what you have to offer, then it's all worth it, right?
And baby, that's the perfect definition of intrinsic motivation, right? Intrinsic motivation.
You change one life because you didn't quit.
Connect your yes to something bigger than you. All the motivation research and science comes down to those 2 things. Extrinsic is because it's all about you. It's all about your ego. That's how it's going to benefit you. It's not a bad thing necessarily, but it doesn't really motivate us. In fact, it's usually connected to a lot of anxiety and even depression. But if it's intrinsic, meaning that we're doing it for reasons bigger than us, our yes is a whole bunch of other yeses for other people that we love and care about, then we are going to be absolutely motivated. We're going to push through hard stuff in dark times, because when it's bigger than us, we resource within us a physiological, spiritual, emotional, energetic that literally becomes transcendent. So think about the thing that makes you come alive. Think about the thing that makes you feel like you can serve it, because you know it's going to be a force multiplier for your family, for your friends, for strangers, for anyone and everyone who sees your life demonstration of overcoming a no as their permission to do the exact same thing in their life. That is what humans do better than any of us, meaning that there's a consciousness that humans have that is unique to us. Consciousness is a shapeshifter. Use it for something bigger than yourself.
And if you do get that no, just recognize that it may mean that there's a breakthrough coming right around the corner just for you, that you something bigger and better and wilder than you could ever have dreamed or imagined.
That's beautiful, sweetheart.
Yeah,
what a fun topic.
Yeah, I love how it's sort of the opposite of setting that boundary, the no boundary. It's like, well, sometimes we just get that boundary right in our face, but it's different when you resonate with your heart and you connect to that higher calling and that inner purpose and the intrinsic motivation, and you know, like, I'm made for this or something better. And then you just believe and you do all the things that we just talked about. So we don't need to like go on and on.
Although I do want to add one last thing.
Okay. But we do value your time.
But there's more. It's going to be uncomfortable. Let's just go and say it out loud. Any great thing, any great big yes is innately connected to being uncomfortable. welcome it, invite it in, use it as your gritty reinforcement to know that you're on the right path. If it's too easy and too comfortable, it's probably not your bigger yes. It's a good yes, but not your biggest yes. So I just want to make sure, because a lot of life these days is uncomfortable. And
it's uncomfortable, but it doesn't have to be hard. And that is a distinction. And I think we should talk about that another time. But this isn't about, we think like everything needs to be hard.
Do you want to stay with us for the rest of the day? Because we've got a whole bunch more to talk about.
Right, though.
Yes.
I know you like to talk about heartaholism. And that's not what you're saying.
No, that's not.
Discomfort is very different.
Yeah.
That's just like.
Not addicted to pain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway.
On that note,
tell us about your primal yeses. Tell us about your overcoming your no's. Let us get this energy moving for all of us, because we all need to know that we're not alone, and stories help us to all come together and feel our beautiful, innate humanity.
Love it.
So
thank you for sharing.
Thank you for being here with us. We'll see you next week. Much love. Thank you, honey. You're the best.
Thank you all. Many blessings.
Peace and love. Bye.